So, welcome everyone. My name is Mathijs. This is Jeroen. And we are both facilitators in the Tantric Sexology education. And today we want to take the time to share our masculine perspective on Tantric Sexology with you, our personal experience and the experience like what we see with men we work with and our brothers in the men's circles.
Yeah, good morning also. My name is Jeroen Kops. And like what Mathijs already mentioned, we are both facilitators in the Tantric Sexology education. And I'm looking forward to have this conversation with you, Mathijs, about all the kind of things that are related to the work. And
That brings me to my first question to you, Jeroen, is like, just to start at the beginning, what brought you to Tantra?
What brought me there, in short, is that I've been practicing martial arts for many years, but I mostly did it from a masculine perspective. And so I learned all kind of stuff, which is also part of Tantra, but not so aware of like, oh, there's also a feminine part in me that came later on. And I was in a relationship, and I'm still in the same relationship with a beautiful woman. And at that moment, like 12 years ago, already for many years. And in that relationship, we kind of like dried out a bit, we were having good sex, but not very like a lot. And we were actually a bit cheating on in that relationship, where at that moment we didn't know that, of course, from each other. So there was an unhealthy way of being in a relationship as a man. And there was also a lacking of like, there is something that is not totally sane in myself or so. And then, I first watched what was it? A recording of a satsang with a tantric guru in that moment. And I was really like, oh man, that guy is speaking some kind of truth. I felt myself dragging in like, I felt very inspired by that. And then from that moment, that guy actually started to launch a whole tantric bunch of workshops. And I can mention the name. It was Neem Tantra. It was Alex Vartman, and I was really inspired. And but I stepped in as a very blue boy, actually. And I can remember that I stepped in, and that in that moment I also felt some fear, because it was, of course, also with other men and other people that the men are deeper probably, and the men are better doing this, and they are practicing Tantra for a while, and blah blah blah. And so I didn't feel so safe in the beginning. But after every module or workshop, which was most of the time of a week, something deeply relaxed in my whole system, and I was so inspired. So, but to stick to the question is like, how did I come to Tantra? It was more like it just happened, and it makes sense in that time, like there was something needed. And of course that changed a lot in my relationship, and then also my partner stepped in, which is quite important if you are in a full-on relationship together. So and there is so much to share that we will do, but this is how I stepped in.
It makes me curious as well. It's like you also mentioned something about this fear or this insecurity when you come into this path, because there's all these stories about Tantra and what it means, and then you're in this group of tantric men. And I'm just curious if you would like to share something for the men that maybe are in a similar situation, if you have some wisdom for them.
Good question, because the first thing that comes up is performing. I think in society we still, and at that moment I was certainly, deeply conditioned with I have to perform. I have to be good enough in like, I have to man up in with other men as well. And although I felt the brotherhood, I already have something natural in me, which is like, I don't actually have to perform. There was still something that that was just active in me, and I was not aware at that moment, of course. But yeah, during the years, I saw what was actually so active in there. It's the performing part, which I learned to relax in more and more and more, and yeah, for many years already, it's kind of out of my system. I don't actually give a fuck so much about performing. And I think that is also key in doing this work in the tantric field of like, you step into, for instance, a session with someone and you have an agenda, or there is something like, that you think you have to do. The other one unconsciously will feel that, or and there is not so much safety for that person to really relaxing. But if you feel like everything is welcome, and you feel fully relaxed in that, there is nothing to gain, nothing to perform, there is so much safety then in your own system, and you kind of hold that space for the person, including yourself. And it's much more inviting for them to to also show whatever comes up, and without the need to do something or to perform themselves either.
It resonates with me a lot. It's like if I hear this performing, and with this performing comes also almost a sort of comparing. It's like comparing yourself to others, and me having grown up in a family where it was always important to get a high education, get a job, make a career, make lots of money, and get status. I can feel how deeply ingrained this goal-orientedness in me is and was. And so, and how it, if we look at the area of embodiment, how I wasn't feeling safe to be myself because I felt like I needed to live up to this role, and every time I wanted to have a goal or I had a goal, I kind of stepped out of myself and wasn't able to feel anymore, like what are my limits and what feels good for me. And so, I definitely recognized going into Tantra. It was a big process of letting go of that. And it caused, in the beginning for me, quite a lot of confusion as well, because I was going into Tantra with this mindset of goal-orientedness, and that doesn't work. Because then it's like, I need to have these experiences, and I cannot ejaculate. I need to be enlightened and one with whatever you want to call it. And so for me, stepping into the Tantric Sexology actually taught me about coming into my body and not approaching it so much from the mind, and having this wisdom of there's so much wisdom inside us already if you know how to slow down and to connect to it. But when I first slowed down and started connecting to it, all the stuff that I've been holding in my system and that I haven't been able to experience came up. So that was quite an intense process.
What you say, Mathijs, is like that wisdom of the body, like, and that we use a lot of embodiment, like the word embodiment, like this whole education is about embodiment, because we can talk about this for hours, for years maybe. And then in the end, it's like, so what is the experience? So what is your own body actually saying or trying to express? What is coming out as new information? I think that is one of the most like profounding teachings actually in Tantra, and then combined with my martial arts, then because at some moment it all came together, like there was already so much embodiment, but then like really able to let the body express authentically by itself. It was liberating. And because also what you share, so many things from the mind that we used to do and try to understand, and then on the other hand, like using the wisdom of our body to make the steps we have to take in life, in relationship, in ourselves, and so on. So yeah, body. It's becoming my life purpose.
Yeah, and I feel like we're reaching on a very deep topic here, especially as a man. For me, my conditioning has always been to hold and to like, yeah, you need to show up, like it's not, of course there are feelings, but there wasn't any emphasis on that. And so when I go into what society expects of me, or when I go into what has been taught by my timeline, it's like, it's almost, I step out of myself a bit and I hold and I play the role of the man. And that's very tangible. It's a very tangible difference because it's mostly a mental projection, but it's not really felt and embodied. And so for me, when I went deeper into this embodiment journey of Tantric Sexology, it was slowing down, and suddenly I could feel all my fears, and I could feel where I wasn't secure enough to be myself because of my timeline, because of being bullied at school, or being rejected by women, or like faced with aggression and hostility. And so I feel like it kind of wires in when you step into the path of Tantra. It's easy to go up, 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 because there's so much juice and so much orgasmic energy and beauty, and there's a lot in it. And what I feel in this Tantric Sexology journey, what it brings is it actually slows down and pulls us back into the body. And there you need to meet yourself, how you are. And when you do that and you show up vulnerably, the layers drop away, and then something reveals itself that's so potent and powerful. And that's when you can show up from your essence.
Yeah. And that's what we actually experienced so beautifully in this last year, with men and women. But if I look even more to the men, what if I really, what you say, allow myself to get vulnerable in my body, and then let shadows and everything and trauma, what you say, coming out, that they actually, we kind of saw them sinking in their bodies and starting to connect with, there comes the feminine part in us. Like, the feminine is actually, as I see it, like the body, really connect with that, and how to express that also in different ways. And that I finally came to a deeper sense in themselves, like from where they are now able to do this work, and so much more relaxed, so much more embodied, so much more using their own wisdom instead of like something that has been taught or said or out of the book.
I think you bring up a very interesting topic there of polarity, of like, if I look at my own journey, started stepping into men's groups and doing more men's work, it started off with me trying to be more and more the alpha male, trying to be more and more like, oh yes, I need to be cutthroat, and I need to be like this. Where actually, if you look at the tantric path and tantric sexology, it's like, it's a spectrum, and you cannot go deeper in your masculinity if you don't also embody the feminine. And that's, for me, was such a gift. And that's where I think, especially if you look at society's conditioning, the masculine is put in, but as a man, to embody the feminine, that's not talked about. It's almost like a no-go. And so it requires even more vulnerability. And with that vulnerability and being able to step in the total feminine juiciness and the creativity and the sensitivity, and just being able to go in there, I noticed that it also makes it easier. It expands my range into the masculine, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly what you say. If you are there in the juice in your feminine, like how, then if you really, really allow that, and at some point starting to really fall in there, like falling deeply into a deeper feminine wisdom or whatever, which is alive in you, then that is actually an immense recharge of the healthy masculine to come out, exactly as you described, like then even more in an embodied way, like also feminine embodied way, we as men are much more able to bring our gift more authentic, more relaxed, more aligned, more clean, and without agenda, without performing, because we are already there, you know, we are already so relaxed in that way. What is coming in now is what I have experienced, and that is also what was happening in last year education, especially for the men, but also for the woman. It's like we talk about men and women, but it's like the masculine and the feminine. It's living in us, but the awareness of how it is for the woman or for the feminine to feel safe, to surrender deeply and to open up, to realize what it is also for me as a man, to hold a safe container for the feminine.
Yeah.
What is actually needed for that, which is actually nothing. You know, the less you do and the more you penetrate with your full clean embodied presence, the more the feminine, as I also perceive that in my feminine, is able to surrender and to relax. And so it's so beautiful for us men what we get out of that full-on relaxation in our feminine. In order to reach out, but also to have like, and then coming back in society and see like, this is what the feminine is needing. And it was quite something else that I used to took as reality.
I think the biggest liberation for me into my feminine that I can really remember is even a bit before I came into the tantric path, is when I started dancing. So for me, dancing, and I didn't know at the time that that was feminine expression, but it opened up so much juice and creativity in my life, where I had been told that I could not dance. You know, I had been told that it was not the thing to do and it shouldn't be weird. It's when I fully allowed the energy to just take over and my body to just move how it wants to move and feel the sensuality in my being and feel the juiciness in my being and just express to what's alive. That was a life changer for me. And then going into the path more, exploring the receptivity, you know, really going into this deep surrender of it's almost like letting go of control has been one of the most scary things. It's like what you just mentioned, that what is needed is nothing. That's true, but that's really complicated. At least for me, it was really complicated to come into this in this state of nothing, because I feel almost like the masculine needs to be in control, or like the unhealthy masculine. I don't know, not unhealthy, but let's say the more old paradigm. Masculine is about control, and control can be really healthy. But at some point, if you really want to open up and really surrender, you will have to let go of control. And for me, that has been, in meditation, but with my partner as well, in the exercise, like in several exercises where you're really just pushed to this edge of how much can you surrender? How much can you allow life to just take place and not do anything, and see what miracles and what wonder comes up through that. that has been.
Are you practicing this with your partner? Like this maybe polarity play, or that you also surrender in your feminine? Is that?
Yeah, it's like I would say it's less framed, but and we just had a baby, so it's
Uh-huh.
that stretches. I would say
Mm.
having a baby stretches polarity for both parents into the masculine a lot.
Before the baby, did
But
you practice?
beforehand,
Mhm.
definitely. Like I'm blessed with a wife that has a lot of polarity as well,
Mm.
and just the freedom of. For me, actually, what was surprising is that I never dared to go into my full masculine when I was meeting a woman, because I was afraid to overpower them, afraid to hurt them. And so, in a way, because I was holding back my energy, I could also not really be like met in the full
Mhm.
feminine.
Mhm.
And I think the most beautiful thing I got out of my current relationship is to be able to fully explore that. So to go into my masculine where I am just in my full power, and I'm even exploring the ranges where I am just taking, I'm just taking, using her body for my pleasure,
Mhm.
consensually, obviously. That has been such a liberating and empowering experience. And also the other way around, like, because then it's
Yeah.
not only me going into the masculine, but to have her just fully, yeah,
Mm.
take me and just allow that, and to
Mm.
receive that, basically.
Mm.
It's been deeply empowering. Yeah.
Yeah, this is so beautiful because we call it like old paradigm, new paradigm. Like in the old paradigm where I come from, also is that as a man you have to penetrate your woman as having good sex. Like you're the man, you're in masculine, you do in that way, which is beautiful, which can be amazing, and which is mostly amazing. But in society we also get tired, as men. We get dried out and we are like and then you still have to perform in doing that. In the new paradigm, actually, where we hope this whole beautiful world is evolving to, and that is also the work that we are doing in Tantric Sexology, is to bring in the awareness of like that polarity, what you say, and that if you in your relationship, whatever relationship it is, or intimate sexual relationship, you change that polarity. Like for instance, for me, it is so beautiful as a woman is starting, you know, kind of like okay, we're just laying, and then I feel like and then she is kind of taking me maybe just for a minute or so.
Mm-hmm.
And in that minute, I feel so recharged, like oh, and then I'm there, and so willing
Yeah.
to, to take care of her and to support her and then just going from there. But it's like that, even though if it is just that tiny thing that we can add in new paradigm, like relationships and having, a healthy sexual tantric intimacy. It would be amazing as I see it. It doesn't have to be big like the man food. It's all they're all possible, but for me, I just need a little of that.
Yeah. When I came into this path of tantric sexuality, it's like approaching it with the old paradigm of sexuality. It's almost impossible to. I was hearing about people having sex for 4 hours and like more, or like nights, and it's like, and I was just coming with this old paradigm of friction-based porn, and I'm like, wow.
Uh-huh.
Well, in a way, it doesn't even sound comfortable to do that for 4 hours. It's like, so
Mm.
yeah. What I think is important to mention is that my mind was blown when it comes to sexuality and what is possible. And I basically had to let go of everything that I thought I knew around sexuality
Mm.
to open up to this new paradigm of tantric sex, what it means and how fulfilling it can be. And like I feel like there's myths around men that like men don't need foreplay, or like, yeah, you know, like those, and men just come really quick, and it's easy, and yeah, those are all very old paradigm statements, I'd say. So for me, it's I'm coming into a place now when I go to my self-pleasure practice, or when I approach sexuality, I almost feel like I need, no, I don't want to say more or less, but I need a lot of foreplay, you know. I need, like, my whole body is is an organ of pleasure, and it's not just, yeah, I feel like there's this old paradigm has such focus on the genitals, you know. It's like first base, second base, third base, fourth base. There's like a hierarchy in how you approach it. It's like mechanical. And yeah, I just want to say to all the men out there also, who are a bit like, I don't know what this tantric sex means, or how to approach it. It's like, forget what you know from porn, forget what you know from your classical sex education. Just, yeah, show up and give it a try. Because if you show up authentically, it's like, it can be anything, you know. It can be, and if you let go of the goal orientedness, if you open up to your feminine, then there's this enormous orgasmic life energetical potential that will blow your mind. But I also remember, that's what I'm wanting to come through, is that before really going a bit more deep into it, I was just projecting all the old things on what it could be, and so I didn't really understand.
Oh, there's so much to share about, and what comes up now is like all that energy, you know. And one of the things that we say is like non-ejaculation, and yeah, I would love to ask you, Mathijs, can you explain a little bit more about what it means, like non-ejaculation, and why that is an important practice?
Yes.
Not only, yeah, maybe especially for men, you know, it's also for women, but as yeah, if you can bring it from your perspective as a man, then
yes, it's a big topic,
yeah,
obviously, but yeah, for me there are a few moments that clicked, that made non-ejaculation make so much sense for me. I think maybe one of the biggest was becoming a father, and seeing the potential that my semen actually has, like the life, the force, the power that's in that. And just thinking about how many of that I wasted in socks and down the drain, and like all of and throughout my lifetime. It's like, yeah, so the potency of the energy, and really experiencing that. And then it's been a journey for me for 6-7 years, where I first heard about it. I got interested about it, but I approached it from this old mind. And so I tried having sex in the old way. I tried having everything in the old way, and then not ejaculate, which is almost impossible. And it creates so much frustration. And it took me on a journey to okay, let's expand, let's feel, let's let go of the goal orientedness, and gradually it came from, oh, let's not ejaculate for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, and then it's like, oh, I actually feel like I have freedom to choose now. And what
Can
it
I
did.
ask you something there, Mathijs?
Yes.
Like you say, like a week, 2 weeks, but because I've heard and I've experienced also myself, like that first week or 2 weeks, they are like not the easiest weeks of life.
No, and it's also like coming with the old paradigm. Like if you continue masturbating like you did, if you continue having sex like you did, it's going to be really intense. Because in my experience, what happens is the energy just builds up in your pelvic region, you know. And so if you don't have ways to regulate your system, if you don't have ways to circulate the energy, to move what is there, then it's just frustration building up, and it amplifies everything. It amplifies your emotions, the good and the bad, you know. It amplifies physical sensations in your body, the good and the bad. It can like cause if you have leaky sexual energy, for instance, so if you don't take care of your sexuality in a healthy way, then from that, in my experience, it makes your fantasies go crazy. You know, it's like I couldn't meet a woman or even or a man for that matter without thinking about sex. You know, if you're building it up without knowing how to regulate it. So, but when you do, and that's the important part, I think, when you learn how to spread that energy and how to move the body and how to slow down and be with it, you build up a bit of a tolerance in your body as well, because it does something to your nervous system when you build up this energy. So yeah, I would also really say to all the men practicing this to not push it, to stay in this window of tolerance. You know, it's not, you don't need to go from 0 to years without ejaculation, and years without ejaculation isn't the goal anyway, because we don't have a goal. But it is, yeah, from this relaxed place, you can see that from 1 week you go to 2 weeks, maybe a month, 2 months, and every time it might be a bit of a stretch for your nervous system. And at some point it's like, oh yeah, I can feel relaxed in it. You know, I don't want to ejaculate anymore, or I don't want to. And then that's where the juice comes. In a way, it's like I feel like one thing that's not often talked about when it comes to non-ejaculation is having a sense of purpose as well, because you're going to build up all this energy, and it has benefits on a physical level, emotional level, energy, mental. You feel better, you have more intense orgasms or whatever. But if you don't have a clear purpose, or what are you going to do with all this energy, it's a bit, yeah, it's nice, but it's not. So that's
yeah, thank you, Mathijs. Yeah, I think we all have our own journey in this, and that is what I really want to say. Like, there is no one right way to do. It's really about an experience for yourself, as long as you are willing to explore. And like I always say, we can have this conversation before the practice of non-ejaculation, and there's a big thick door, but if you went through that door, then we have we also can have this conversation about it afterwards, and then it's completely different. It's a completely different like state of mind, almost like how you perceiving everything. And like what you beautifully say, like so much more clarity in what you as a man have to do here. You know, what is your kind of life purpose? What is your most deepest like alignment of there? And then also the being able to be connected with your feminine, with your body, is so important, because that is helping you to circulate and regulate, you know, and express that amount of energy that is running through your body. Yeah, but it was like an amazing practice of also like our ego system active, of the performing of like, oh, I really well that feeling of addiction, you know. It's an addiction. It's like, compared with so many other things that you can full on be addicted on. Yeah, society is addicted on having peak orgasms, and so to break that through, for me it was an amazing practice, because when you went through, it was not only like, yeah, I made it, you know, like to not take ourselves too serious, but it was also like, yeah, it was something which was through that door, like, oh, well, I cannot actually explain to people, to men that are not there yet.
Yeah,
you know, I always said, like, you have to figure it, you have to experience it yourself. And not only that you are not ejaculating anymore, but especially the journey through it. So yeah, it's still something, you know, it's still, yeah.
Thank you, Jeroen. It was a joy to talk with you about these things.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
To be continued.
Yeah.